Hello. I wanted to start this video with lyrics from, oddly enough, another Our Lady Peace song. Um, they're, of course, not the only band that I listen to, but another one of their favorite songs is called Innocent. And the first time I heard it, it really struck a chord with me, largely because of the lyrics, but also the music. And if you haven't heard it, I I want to tell you what the lyrics are, and if you have heard it, then it'll be familiar to you. But the song is called "Innocent," and it's from their album Gravity. Now, I'd have no relationship to the band or anything. Like I've said in other videos, I really like music, and a lot of it for me comes down to not only the music but the words. But anyway, so I'm actually going to read the whole song because it kind of relates to how I felt and possibly how you feel, and it kind of ties into what I wanted to talk about. So it's called Innocent, and I'm just going to read the words. I'm not going to sing it. Oh, Johnny wishes he was famous, spends his time alone in the basement with Lennon and Cobain, a guitar and a stereo. While he wishes he could escape this, it all seems so contagious, not to be yourself and faceless in a song that has no soul. I remember feeling low. I remember losing hope. I remember all the feelings in the day they stopped. We are, we are all innocent. We are all innocent. We are, we are, we are. Oh, Tina's losing faith in what she knows, hates her music, hates all of her clothes, thinks of surgery and a new nose. Every calorie is a war. While she wishes she was a dancer and that she'd never heard of cancer, she wishes God would give her some answers and make her feel beautiful. One day you'll have to let it go. Oh, one day you'll stand up on your own. You'll stand up on your own. Yeah, remember losing hope. Remember feeling low. Remember all the feelings and the day they stopped. And it goes into the chorus again. So I'll just stop there. I like the song because it covers a couple of different things. First, it's very rich, at least in my opinion, as far as lyrics are concerned. What's I think is ironic, and I don't know if they meant to do this or not, but at the very beginning, it talks about Johnny wishing he was famous, spending all his time in the basement, listening to Lennon and Cobain, and that's Kurt Cobain. And funny enough, they had the song "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and in the song um, it repeats the word "contagious," and the fact that in this song it says he wishes he could escape this. It all seems so contagious. But I just find that part kind of ironic. But the words kind of cover a couple of different things, right? Because it's got somebody who wishes they were somebody else. Um, Actually, I guess both characters, both the boy and the girl in this. Johnny wishes he could escape this. He wishes he could be someone else. And it even says not to be yourself and faceless. And I know a lot of times, especially if you're dealing with depression, and if that depression is stemming from not being comfortable with who you are or why people pick on you and say the things that they do, that everybody in some form or fashion is innocent in their own right. And they have, it's they should never be in a situation where they are being picked on or made fun of. And of course, that's inevitable because people who do those types of things just aren't going to go away and change. But towards the end of the song, it talks about, one day you'll stand up on your own. You'll remember losing hope and you'll remember feeling low, but then you'll remember all the feelings and the day they stopped. And that's all about really understanding who you are and being comfortable with who you are and where your life is going and how you're going to make those those judgments and those paths moving forward. And it's such a big thing. And in the second verse, it talks about Tina losing faith in what she knows. Um, she hates her music and all of her clothes, and that could be stemmed from maybe being picked on because of the music she listens to or the clothes she wear. And then it says she thinks of surgery and a new nose and every calorie is a war. And, that talks about really wanting to change who you are. And then it kind of turns the table a little bit by saying, while she wishes she was a dancer and that she'd never heard of cancer, um, it kind of takes, it shows somebody who's just being beat down by, again, I don't know obviously fully where the lyrics came from, but this is just kind of the ways that I've internalized and made it personal to me. And I'm kind of using this as an example, but nonetheless, it's about, her not being comfortable with who she is and the way that she looks, and she wants to change her nose, and she's really conscious about her weight and her body and everything else. And then she, finds out she's got cancer, and it's just hard. I haven't ever been diagnosed with a um, chronic or fatal disease or anything like that. And if you're somebody who's like that, my heart goes out to you, because I can't imagine what you're going through on a personal basis, along with, of course, all the changes that you're going through with that. But I have had very close family members and friends that have passed away from cancer and other um, deadly diseases and conditions. And it's unfortunate, obviously, that goes without saying. Um, but I've also had many who have been very sick and didn't think and were told that they weren't going to pull out of it, and they did, and they've been, you know, love their life and everything else. And um, but kind of going back on track, I for me, like I said, music has always been kind of something that has stuck with me, and typically listen to music that resonates with me, whether it be lyrical or whether it be musical or nonetheless. And listening to that song and reading the lyrics, think about how that would apply to yourself. Like, in this particular song, people want to change who they are because so that they can be somebody else. And while being picked on can make you want to be someone else, and it might drive you to do something else, or to be somebody else, or it might give you a drive to be successful, and that's certainly okay. But I think about, really, this could go twofold, right? Because being picked on gives you a drive to want to show those people that they're completely wrong about who you are, and one day you're going to be successful, and give them the finger and let them know that everything that they said was just completely off the charts. And now here you are with whatever success that you've come out with because of the drive possibly that they've given you. And that can't be, I can't think that that would be healthy. I mean, obviously it's good because in some way or another, it's kind of driving you to maybe want to do something, or be somebody, or develop an app, or whatever it might be. I think that, that's an okay thing, but I think what you're going to find, if you haven't already, when you have a negative aspect that's driving you to do something and you think that the outcome is going to be, I don't know, euphoric, most of the time it's not going to be, primarily because you ha- you weren't driven by what you had naturally inside of you. You are driven because of this external negative resource. And one way to look at that is that you have to realize, if you are somebody who is driven by this to, again, to be successful or whatever it might be, um, that's always inside of you, regardless of the events that you're going through that are kind of pulling that out of you. And I think that it's healthy to realize that you might be doing it for a negative reason. And if you can kind of learn maybe to really turn that on yourself, because when you do reach your goal, you will have done it for yourself. And the reward will be so much greater, because trying to prove somebody wrong in some cases, um, might not go the way that you want it to, and it might not be that satisfaction. And then what happens? Then maybe you become more upset or more depressed, because you feel like that they've still gotten one over on you, and it becomes this never-ending cycle. But you can break that cycle by learning, what in this particular goal of yours is going to make you happy. The other thing is, what happens when you get there? I like I kind of already said, if you do get there, it might not be as fulfilling as you think it would be. So let's turn let's turn this around just a little bit. Let's say that in this particular example that, it's not driving you to do anything. Maybe you feel like don't know what your goal should be or anything like that. But think about this. What if someone could change the way that you look, or buy you the clothes that you want to buy so you can fit in, or so you can drive the car you want to drive, or have the house that your family can live in and everything? Well, then what? I mean, if you think that you're being picked on and becoming depressed because of this situation or situations that you're in, if someone could come in and snap their fingers, what would the long-term result be? And I ask that because I think that that's something very important to think about, because I believe that everybody has their own form of happiness, and that's a genuine happiness, and it's an enormous feeling. And if you think that, if somebody could swoop in and, replace your car with the car that the kids that picked on you drove or something like that, or even better, or what have you, then what? Then what do you really do? Now, okay, now that you've got this car or this new look or these new clothes, I think it's about figuring out who you are and making these changes, trying to figure out who you are. Because if you don't know what your ultimate goal is, I think that it makes things more difficult, because you're going to find yourself kind of in a cycle, or you know it'll make things more difficult to try to understand and comprehend and appreciate, because I think appreciation is a really big thing in life as well, regardless of how big or how small it is. Um, like I said, somebody holding open a door for you, or you holding open a door for somebody else. For some people that could be a very big gesture, and it's about appreciation, or I don't know, whatever it might be. But my point is If you think that you could just snap your fingers and have these things change, who are you changing them for? And what good are they going to do you? Because I know I know I've been there when day after day I got ridiculed or you got put down or you were made fun of, and it's horrific to go through that. But like I've said, and I know it might be hard to understand, or you might have already gone through this, but things like that end. People change, people move. You go to a new school, they go to a new school. You meet new friends, you meet new people. You don't know who you're going to run into tomorrow, and it pains me to think that your answer to your happiness could be a minute away, an hour away, a day away, or a week away. You don't know, and if you kind of shut down and lock yourself in and just constantly think about how bad things are, and I know how bad things can be, and I know it's very hard to think forward and to look forward and to think that anything's gonna get better, but it will. I think I've mentioned this, well, I know I've mentioned this in another, um, video. One of my closest and very best friends took his own life, and, I would have never I would have never met him. It was completely by chance. I had gone to the mall to visit one of my friends who was, working in a store there, and, this guy that became my best friend, just happened to be in the store, and I overheard him talking, to my friend at the counter about something, and that piqued my interest, and I never I'm not a sociable person. I certainly wasn't when I was younger, and I just kind of stepped out of my shell for a minute and introduced myself, and I ended up getting this incredible friend. Um, his life was so different than mine, and it kind of made me appreciate what I had, and it made me appreciate that I hadn't done anything with my life or taken my life because you really never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And while a lot of the same things that you have to endure on a day-to-day basis are going to be there, like, if it is a school um, bully that you're dealing with, or somebody on social media, or somebody at work, or wherever it might be, that's going to be there. But you never know who you're going to run into, who could just be that spark of light in your life and completely change the way that you think about everything. It's amazing, and um, I don't think things like that are just luck. I think that I don't know. I think that something is always out there for somebody, and again, you don't know what's going to be coming in your future, but it can be amazing, and it can be certainly amazing if you really know yourself and you really know why you want certain things in life. Because circling back around, if anybody could, or you could just snap your fingers and everything kind of go away. And what I mean by go away, I don't mean obviously snapping your fingers and being in a new place with new friends and things like that. But I mean, when you get bullied, a lot of people like to hone in on the things that the people are talking about and picking on you about, and you really hone on what you can do to make those changes so they don't do it anymore. And if you're looking at trying to snap your finger to answer those type of questions, again, you got to think about who are you doing it for? Obviously, you're doing it for you in some form or fashion so that you don't have to endure, what it is on a day-to-day basis or being bullied or whatever it might be and how often. Um, it's it's really comes down to, I don't know, thinking about how great your life can be, and I know that I keep saying that, and I know that it can be very difficult to think on the bright side of life. Um, if you know Monty Python, one of their popular songs is "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life," and I know that that's corny, but oddly enough, it's true. And I was kind of happy that I found out about Monty Python because even though the context of that song is completely outrageous, it still kind of, in a way, made me think about life and always looking on the bright side of life. And even though it can be very difficult, it's still pretty amazing. And that's just something that I want. And so being able to snap your fingers and change who you are isn't going to actually change. It's not going to change you in a positive way because you're doing what you want to do for the sake of somebody else. And things are much more spectacular if you're able to do the things that you want to do and that you're driven by, because the reward is so amazing. It really comes down to being proud of yourself. Being proud of yourself is one thing. Being able to set a goal that you wanted to set a goal for and meeting that goal because that is something that you wanted to do genuinely, not because you wanted to change the way that you looked or the clothes you wore, the way that you walked or the way that you talked. It's about accomplishing something that's real and having a real reason for it. Because, like I said, the once you reach that goal, it's so much, it's so much better than reaching that same goal but for the wrong reason. And one of the main reasons that I bring this up is because if you find that you're driven to change something about you so that you're not being in whatever negative position that you're being put in, wherever that might be, you're ultimately not going to be happy because it's not what you wanted to do. And I would hate to think that someone would take all of their time and energy to focus on something that they think they need to change because somebody else is telling them is terrible. Like I said, I know how hard it is to be able to constantly have to deal with what people say because of the way that you look or whatever physical aspect it might be, whatever that might be. It's I don't know, it hurts to think that I know how much time and how many years of my life I lost because I've just went after this goal and these what I thought were my own aspirations and they weren't. And by the time I got to where I wanted to be or whatever goal I wanted to get to, that I had absolutely no joy in it. None. And then I started to do things and set goals that were for me, regardless of whatever ridiculous thing it might be, or what people might think. I did it for me because then it came down to me spending my time on focusing on something that I wanted to do, or I wanted to accomplish, or I wanted to change, or whatever it might be. But if you find yourself changing yourself for other people, then you're not you. And what's going to happen is that in the long run, you're not going to be happy. I truly believe that. And like I said, it just kind of pains me to think that there's life can be either very short or very long. But like I said in other videos, you've got it's all about creating these moments in your life. And if you look back and you don't have any moments that, m- you know, at a time when you know that you were very happy or ecstatic or a moment that was real that you can look back on, yet you've got all of these moments because of these goals that were set indirectly by other people, then you haven't really made those memories yourself and those moments yourself. And I think that that's very important because that helps center you around you. It's like I said, growing up, I got picked on from I can't even count how many aspects. Um, one of them, like I had mentioned, was that, um, I had always been very tall, and then all of a sudden, and I had always been skinny, and then all of a sudden I hit a growth spurt where it felt like I grew 2 feet in a matter of a summer. Yet my body didn't gain any weight, but now I had these arms that were now 2 feet longer, and torso and legs that were 2 feet longer. And because I was tall and skinny, of course, I had very skinny legs. And I've spent, and even to today, it's still kind of hard for me to wear shorts. But for the majority of my life, I've always wore pants. And not that that's a big thing, but it's just something that I kind of wish that I hadn't really focused on and worried about what other people thought. And maybe I would have been more comfortable in the summers, and I would have been more comfortable going to the pool or whatever it might be that would be an outdoor activity. And I know that that's not a horrifically painful experience, but it is something that affected me through a large portion of my life. And I, those are years and moments and memories that I've missed that I'll never get back. And that's one of the reasons why I continue to do this, because I hope that, you'll start to do things that you want to do for the reasons that you want to do them, and forget about the other people, because they're most likely they're not going to be around in the next year or two or four, um, because you don't know really what life is going to bring you. You might, you might end up moving in a month, and this is something that was just sprung on you by your parents that you didn't know, or whatever the circumstance might be. You just really never know what's going to come down the road. And I would just, life is such a spectacular moment, and it's I don't when I say spectacular, it's not like one day I woke up and I played the lottery and I won it. It's not anything like that. While I would imagine that would be spectacular, it's not something I've experienced. But I mean, just the littlest moments in life are spectacular. Like, you could wake up one morning, make your coffee like the way you normally make it, but it just be an amazing flavor that day. And it's just little moments like that that are spectacular, because they add up over time. And if you really pay attention to yourself and your feelings, and not worry about what other people are thinking and what other people are saying and what else is happening in your life, you can really start to appreciate all these little moments, and it just becomes this spectacular domino effect of of what you get to experience. I think, like I've said before, it's for me, I really enjoy just being able to stand outside and, look at a tree and listen to the wind or what have you. And I know that that probably sounds ridiculous, but I've had anxiety for, I don't know, 95% of my life, even into my adulthood. And it prevented me from enjoying such simplistic things, but it's such a spectacular thing, at least to me. And while that's an example of a moment for me, I want you to be able to have moments like that. And when you understand yourself and you get past all this other garbage that's floating around you, you'll really start to appreciate yourself and what you can do and what you can accomplish, because I want the best for everyone. I really do. Like I said, if I could do anything to help you, then I would, or I would at least wish that I could. Um, in any case, I'm at 29 minutes. I had planned on trying to start maybe narrowing these down to 10 and 15 minutes, but this one I got a little carried away with. So, but I hope it was helpful. And if you've listened to all of these, which I'll be surprised, but if you've listened to all of these, you'll I feel like I've got this standard theme of feelings and understanding yourself, and the world's going to be happy. and it can and it will, and I know I keep repeating it, but I'm hoping that one day very soon, if it didn't already happen today, it might happen tomorrow, but sometime soon, you're gonna have a moment, and it may be something that you do on a daily basis as a routine, but you notice something different, and it just makes you maybe think differently or appreciate the moment or what have you. Anyway, I um I appreciate you listening, and I will I'll be back soon. Take care of yourself and try to make a moment or a memory. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye.